Hi, how you doing today? I want to talk about what I'm calling one body, one God. Before the 4th century, the followers of Jesus were fairly, not completely, united. There were various men that had ideas based on their own opinions, and these leaders were leading people astray. And we can see this in Paul's letters as he tries to keep people from following what he referred to as false gospels. This division didn't stop. It only grew worse as more and more Gentiles converted to following Jesus. Even before Jesus, the root into which we have been grafted had a multiplicity of Judaistic flavors, differences in man-made doctrines concerning the faith. With the inculcation of Gentiles who were steeped in Greek philosophy, a huge gap opened up between Jews and Gentile followers. The real first schism, if you will, with the advent of Constantine and a complete takeover of leadership within the faith by Greco-Romans, that gap became an uncrossable chasm for Jewish followers. Then we see 600 years later what we actually call the Great Schism, the separation between the Eastern and Western empires into the Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church. Now, mind you, that the Coptic and Ethiopian churches had already existed from the very beginning. From there, though, we see 500 years later that we have the Reformation, which resulted in us now, today, having 40,000 plus denominations. I want to say that again, 40,000 plus denominations, all of which comes from either minor or major disagreements in doctrine. And you should think about that for a moment. 40,000 from minor disagreements to major disagreements based on man-made doctrine, I might add. When I truly have to ask, is this really what God wants and intended? All of this is man-made origin. None of it is God-breathed. Man wants what man's flesh desires. We are called to be one in unity. Ephesians 2 and 3, Paul speaks of Gentiles being strangers and not part of the promise, but through Jesus are brought near. Both groups, Jews and Gentiles, were meant to be one. The wall within the temple court was to be broken down so that we, Gentiles, could now enter into the temple, or God's house, if you will. We become one body to God, heirs and adopted into Israel as one. There's supposed to be only one unity, one body, one faith under one God, not a multiplicity of doctrines and ideas and methodologies. Read Ephesians for yourself and tell me if I'm wrong. And if you find what I'm saying to be correct, then the big question is, what are we to do about it? How do we become united? How do we become one? How do we put aside man-made ideas and doctrines that drive us? Because that does come from our own desires and our own flesh. It does not come from the Spirit. It comes from us. How do we put that aside? That's the big question. I leave that up to you. It's not up to me. It's up to us and God combined together. Well, I hope you found that somewhat interesting, and I hope you will do the research and determine for yourself if what I'm saying is correct or not.